Broadcasting live from the city of Portland, this is Tap Tap Concede. Which is not strictly accurate.
It's not true.
We did a really good job of
recreating.
Yeah.
It was a little awkward because while you were away, a Tap Tap was recorded.
I know.
And then I was like, oh wait, I don't know how to change the intro. Okay, well it's from the Portland Convention Center again.
Wait, really?
Like just the image that you fly past.
Oh no.
It's like crap. Okay, I just want to get this up, but nobody said anything.
I could have showed you how to do that. That's real easy.
Yeah.
You could just put the multiverse one back in. Oh well. So yeah, we're back in Victoria, and there was another podcast up because they recorded one. They recorded the last episode, the sideboard hour.
The sideboard hour
while we were away.
Yep.
But we wanted to get the interview with Marshall up online, which we recorded at the GP.
Yes.
But now this is our actual GP report.
Hooray!
With us three, which is Team Loading Ready Run.
Yay!
And we can tell you all about how our GP thing went. But first, we're going to do a quick crack a pack.
I already know because we won the GP. It was all
exactly.
Make sure daily MTG.
Pardon me. Make sure you get up on the mic there.
Yep.
All right. Let's, roll it up, James. Let's see what we got. 17. I think that's a
reroll.
That's a reroll. 17 is a reroll.
That's a bad roll.
6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lorwyn.
Exciting.
That's
all right.
exciting.
Let's see what we got going on in Lorwyn here. There's no flavor text in this one, is there? No.
All right. No, I think they stopped doing that.
Yeah.
Pretty early, actually.
All right. First card, Runed Stalactite.
Oh, that's a card.
Yeah.
Yeah. So single colorless mana for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and is every creature type, and it costs 2 to equip. That was turned out to be pretty relevant.
Mm-hmm. Was that reprinted in
Modern
Masters,
Masters?
yeah.
I kind of feel like most of these cards were.
I think a lot of them were.
Yeah.
None of us drafted this set, but
No.
This was more relevant in Modern Masters than I thought it was going to be.
Yes.
So.
Nath's Elite.
Okay.
Nath. 4 and a green for a 4/2 elf warrior. All creatures able to block Nath's Elite do so.
Mm-hmm.
So you can force anything to block all creatures, actually, and it's 4 power.
Yeah.
So you can probably kill some things. When it comes into play, clash with an opponent.
Oh,
I'll explain what
God,
that is in a
clash.
second. If you win, put a +1/+1 counter on Nath's Elite. So if you win a clash, it's a 5/3 with everything must block it.
That's
So
pretty sweet.
That's pretty strong.
Yeah.
So clash. What a weird mechanic. Each clashing player reveals the top card of his or her library, then puts that card on the top or bottom. A player wins if his or her card had a higher converted mana cost.
Yeah.
So just for having...
So it's you get to scry,
Yeah.
but both players get to see the cards, and you get some menial upside if yours is more expensive.
I don't think a lot of the time this card, it matters whether it's a 5/3 or a 4/2 or a 1/1 or whatever it is. You're just, like, a lot of the time, you're just going to use it to force damage through later in the game. Like, it's just, the fact that it's got a lure is sort of its main thing. For 5 mana, it's a little more expensive than we usually see that card, but it's...
That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, hey. Neck Snap.
Yeah.
3 and white. Instant. Destroy target attacking or blocking creature.
Yeah.
Seems good.
Seems good.
Neck Snap is really good. Was that... This is the one that was functionally reprinted recently?
3 and a white, destroy target attacking or blocking creature. 3 and a white.
Wait, isn't that just Divine Verdict?
It is, yes, it is
Yeah.
just Divine Verdict.
Yes. Okay, good. I'm not just making that up. It is the same thing, right? Yes, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sentinels of Glen Elandra. 3 and a blue. Flash. Flying. 2/3. Fairy.
How much does it cost?
4.
4?
Yeah.
That seems quite
Yeah.
strong. I mean, you can probably
it's,
eat something with that.
It's
That also seems like a fairly...
Screaming, no, Sea Kite. Something Sea Kite.
Oh,
Yes.
the
Screeching Sea Kite.
Yeah, from Innistrad block.
Yeah.
Recently reprinted in a core set.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Smoke Braider. Interesting. It's a 1/1 elemental shaman for 1 and a red. Tap. Add 2 mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to play elemental spells or activate elemental abilities.
So in the elemental deck, you like this card, but
Yeah.
anywhere else it's just kind of garbo.
I mean,
Pretty
there's changelings in this set too.
Yeah, that's true.
So it can maybe like power out a chameleon colossus or something.
Sure.
but-
Ooh, Chameleon Colossus is fun.
yeah.
All right. Gilt Leaf Ambush.
Ooh, this is a good card.
Tribal Instant Elf.
All right.
They don't do those anymore. 2 and a green. Put 2 1/1 elf warrior creature tokens into play. Clash with an opponent. If you win, those creatures gain death touch until end of turn.
Seems actually pretty good.
That's a
it's-
very strong card.
So it's
Yeah.
2 1/1s at instant speed for 3, and they could get death touch.
Yeah, so your opponent attacks and you go, ha, and then maybe you ambush Viper them and maybe you just have 2 1/1s. But
Fair enough. Broken Ambitions. That just sounds like a blue card. It is a blue card, by the way. X and blue, in fact. Oh, this looks terrible. Counter target spell unless its controller pays X.
Okay.
Clash with an opponent.
God, what? Come
If
on.
you win, that spell's controller puts the top 4 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard.
No.
So what's the old school original just blue and X?
Spellblast?
Is that the original one?
No, Spellblast is counter target spell with converted mana
Right,
cost.
Get up on that. Rub your face all up on that mic.
Are you thinking of Power Sync?
Maybe, but Power Sync does something else,
Okay.
right?
I am not entirely sure.
I can't remember.
I mean, I'm thinking no, it is Power Sync. It's totally Power Sync because Syncopate does the same thing, right?
What? Oh, darn! We haven't plugged your mic in. What's up, Kathleen? Sorry, Kathleen's filling in for Paul. It's okay. Just tell me, and I will repeat it.
Okay, so Power Sync is
Power Sync. It just
counter target spell unless its controller pays X.
yeah.
If he or she
Oh right,
doesn't-
but Power Sync forces them to tap out.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking of. I guess it's Syncopate. Is what I'm thinking.
I
of.
like the art.
But
They're super-
Syncopate, you know the joke with Syncopate? That it's Power Sync and Dissipate in one card?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do like that.
It's cute.
All right. Next card is Nath's Buffoon.
Okay.
Oh, this is weird. So Nath's elite, right?
Yep.
And Nath of the Gilt Leaf. Like Nath is an elf.
Yep.
Right? This is Nath's Buffoon. It is a goblin rogue. And
Okay.
It's black. He keeps a little goblin jester
Sweet.
as a fool. He's a 1/1 for 1 and a black. Goblin rogue, protection from elves.
Okay.
Because he gets a free pass. Because
Sure.
he's Nath's jester.
Yeah,
That's
no.
so
I'm not
weird.
gonna take the card, but I think it's
No.
awesome.
Yeah, I like what's going on, but yeah, no.
Hey, this thing. Fault Grinder.
Ooh.
Fault Grinder is one of those big elementals. 6 and a red. 7 mana for the Fault Grinder. It's a 4/4 with trample. When it comes into play, destroy target land. And it has Evoke. Evoke is a super cool ability. 4 and a red. You may play this spell for its Evoke cost. If you do, it is sacrificed when it comes into play. So what that means is, for 7 mana, you get a 4/4 trample, and you get to destroy a land. For 5 mana, this comes into play, you destroy a land, and then you sacrifice it.
Right.
It's fine.
By the time I have 7 mana,
Yeah,
destroying my opponent's land is probably less relevant.
probably. You
but
gotta get there. You go.
okay,
Gotta
sorry.
just rub the pop screen with your face.
All right.
Just lick it.
By the time I'm at 7 mana, I feel like my opponent losing a land will be bad, unless I'm getting there off a Smoke Braider.
Oh yeah, there
Yeah,
you go.
that
That's
makes me a lot happier.
2 mana ramp into this.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right.
Root Grapple. This is in my my commander deck. 4 and a green. Tribal instant Tree Folk. If destroy target non-creature permanent. If you control a Tree Folk, draw a card.
Okay. Sure. I could
It's,
see why that would be good in your tribal tree folk deck.
Yeah.
I think it's a
Otherwise, it's not amazing.
Not really.
All right. Gold Meadow Dodger. It's a 1/1 for a single white. Gold Meadow Dodger can't be blocked by creatures with power 4 or greater. Ugh.
I've seen
Kithkin
people
rogue.
play this, and I think it's bad.
It doesn't seem great. Boggart Shenanigans.
Yay.
2 and a red. Tribal enchantment Goblin. Whenever another goblin you control is put into a graveyard from play, you may have Boggart Shenanigans deal 1 damage to target player.
Okay.
In the right goblin deck, that'd be really sweet.
Yeah.
Actually.
I want creature player for that. Like,
Yeah. Ceaseless Sear Blades. It's a 3 and a red for a 2/4 elemental warrior. Whenever you play an activated ability of whenever you play an activated ability of an elemental,
Okay.
I assume that's been
It's
templated.
very narrow.
It's been templated differently now. Ceaseless Sear Blades gets +1/+0 until end of turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Seems like it'd be very good in that deck we were talking about. Squeaking Pie Sneak.
Okay.
You could just guess what creature type that is.
What? Sneaking
The,
pie?
the Squeaking Pie Sneak.
Is it a rat?
No. It's a goblin.
Goblin, I assume. But
He's a 1 and a black for a 2/2. So he's a bears. As an additional cost to play Squeaking Pie Sneak, reveal a goblin from your hand or pay 3.
Yeah, there was a cycle of these.
And he's got fear.
okay.
So he's a 2/2 with fear for 2 if you have another goblin, or he's a 2/2 with fear for 5.
Yeah, I think it's a good card in general if you've got the goblins in your deck to support it.
Yeah. Then we have a token.
Oh boy.
We have the 1/1 Elf Warrior token with his weirdly proportioned pecs.
All right. So do you know the rare yet?
I don't.
Okay. So what do we want? We want
From Lorwyn,
Cryptic.
Planeswalkers.
Is Cleek in Lorwyn?
No, that was something different, wasn't it?
Well,
Thoughtseize.
it was in this block.
Yeah, but it wasn't in this expansion. I don't think.
I think
It was
I
like Cryptic.
I think Vendilion Cleek was the Eventide.
Yes,
Okay.
I believe that's right. Nope.
Dun, 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 dun.
It's terrible.
I actually want this card for my deck.
All right. It's yours.
All right. Kolfanor's Urn, 3 mana artifact.
Okay.
Whenever a creature with toughness 4 or greater is put into your graveyard from play, you may exile it.
Okay.
At end of turn, if 3 or more cards have been exiled with Kolfanor's Urn, sacrifice it. If you do, return those cards to play under their owner's control.
That's kind of cool, actually.
So Kolfanor is a tree folk.
So you replant them.
So this
Yeah.
combos with tree folk.
Yeah.
Yeah, you replant them in a pot,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and eventually they grow
They
back.
Grow back.
Yeah.
That's
So-
sweet. I like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a terrible card, but
It's well. I mean, the tree folk deck was not. What's up, Kathleen? Oh, okay. the tree folk deck was not. I don't think it was actually one of the like supported limited tribes from what I recall listening to like sort of like retro Lorwyn podcasts or like reading about like Lorwyn block. Like tree folk was not really a
thing.
a draftable tribe. But I tell you what, my commander deck is going to love that thing.
That's fair.
Also, I got to make room for Dauntless Dowerbark from M15, which
Yes, you
is pretty sweet.
Yep.
Speaking of M15, segue. Yeah, last week and was Gen Con. But before that was GP Portland. And we went down as a team, as you may have heard 2 episodes ago, to do the Team Seal GP for Jared's birthday.
Hooray!
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 I got older.
Yay. And so we used it as an excuse to go to a place and do a thing.
We've been planning this for like a year.
Yeah, I was going to that GP. I mean, we found out about the GP almost a year ago. And I was like, yep, we're going to that.
Absolutely.
we're not going to that.
James
It's
said to
like-
me, "Yeah, we're going to that for your birthday," and I was like, "Okay, I guess
Yeah,
we are."
exactly. Yeah.
It's not even that bad for us, too. Like, it was an hour and a half ferry.
Yep.
And then like a 4-hour drive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
about that.
it's not the worst.
No, I mean we got into Portland just after
At, like, 1?
noon.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh, yeah.
between 12 and 1. We checked into our hotel, and then we basically headed straight to the event center.
Because our hotel was right across the street from the convention center, and what Cascade Games was doing was basically doing everything they could to make it into basically like a little mini Magic Con.
Yeah.
Like it was 4 days. The events, like side events, started on Thursday, so it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you're going to a GP that you know is hosted by Cascade Games, or if there is a GP that you know is hosted by Cascade Games, go to that GP because they put on a great show. There was things to do all day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. On Thursday they had our buddy Kenji streaming as Newmont the Nummy down there on site, streaming from the event site, which was fun.
Yep.
So we like popped into his little tent and harassed him.
Yep.
Let me see. What did we do? What did you do on the Thursday?
So really quickly,
Okay.
Before we get into like what exactly we did, Cascade did a blog post the other day, which
Oh,
was
right,
GP
by the numbers?
By the numbers.
This is
it's very
entertaining.
very interesting stuff. So GP Portland's firsts It was the first GP with 4 days. We mentioned that.
Yeah.
It was the first GP to have a prize wall, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Love the prize.
It was the first GP to have a full panel schedule, of which we were a part of, and obviously we'll talk about that as well. It had 2 full video coverage teams. It had not only WotC, but also Channel Fireball. It had its own blood drive, which was kind of cool. And it was the first GP to have an infinite constructed bracelet, which is pretty neat. So, main event. 648 teams were in the main event for a total of 1,944 players. And then they give you a whole bunch of starship numbers, which is hilarious.
It's like 2 Enterprises.
Yeah, it's like 2.
1 Battlestar Galactica.
No, it's like 4 Enterprises, 1 pre-attack Battlestar Galactica, or 2. Yeah, and it's just like
It's pretty cool.
It gets pretty geeky.
No.
But that being said, overall events, 412 events were run over the weekend with a total of 9,389 entries.
Wow.
That is 2 Victory class Star Destroyers. We used over they used over 28,000 boosters from 785 boxes to run the event. Of those, 750 of them were M15.
Wow.
They say 450 Hornet Queens were opened, 6 of which were foil.
Oh.
And over 1,350 souls were open, which I'm guessing they mean
across all 6.
Yeah,
I would assume so.
what else did we get? That's about. They go into the prize breakdown for the prize wall, which again we'll talk about.
Could you go back to the GP first? Actually, before we talk about our specific experience, I want to sort of go through those.
Yeah. So first 4 day.
That was super fun.
Yeah. So normally GPs are 3. Normally they start on Friday,
but they start on Friday at like
4 or
5 in the afternoon.
Well, no, that's not true. They start earlier.
Yeah, they start earlier, but it's normally grinders. Like
our experience of them has usually been like coming into town the night before, and you can still do the same sort of side events and things like that on the day before, or at least you have been able to.
Yeah.
But the main sort of fixture of them has been grinders. And a grinder, for those who are not GP initiated, is an event before the GP that you play with the first prize being several buys for the GP.
But it's like a 64-player. It's like a 64-player sealed event.
64-player single elimination sealed and go.
Well, and depending on the format, I believe it's the same format as the GP. If it's a standard GP, it'll be a standard.
It's standard grinders.
And the first prize out of this 64 thing is
3 buys.
3 buys. But because this was team sealed, there's no buys.
Yeah,
there were no buys at all, so all the pros had to get up at regular time like the rest of us.
Yep. But 4 days mean there were 2 full days of just side events.
Yeah, because there were no buys, there were no grinders.
Yeah,
and so there was just on-demand drafts, there was on-demand sealed, there was on-demand constructed, drafts. There was scheduled drafts and sealed, constructed. The first thing I did, the first event I did on the Thursday was enter a chaos draft, which I can talk about in a bit. But I think it's a good idea. I think making it into more of like a Magic, like I said, a little mini convention, I think is a really smart plan.
Yeah.
If it's the one like really big Magic thing that's going to happen in your area, and it comes to town like once every 2 years or something along those lines, then it makes sense to blow it out into a much bigger thing.
Oh yeah,
because it's like once every 2 years that you get to go to the huge Magic tournament.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
What was their next thing?
So next one is prize walls, but full day or the full panel schedule will be a little bit better just because it sort of ties in with the whole like con experience that we're talking about.
Yeah, so that was really, really cool.
Yeah, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they had, I believe, 4 panels each day. Mm-hmm. The main sort of big panel that they've done a couple times now is the Sealed Deck Seminar that's been hosted by several members of Team Channel Fireball.
This time around was
Reed Duke,
William Jensen,
and Owen Turtenwald.
So
this was Channel Fireball Pantheon, but same sort of idea. Who won?
Spoilers, won the event. So they clearly know what they're talking about.
Yeah, so
Peach Garden Oath, right.
PGO. So they come in and they just basically talk about we didn't go. I kind of wish I had actually, but we ended up doing side events or whatever, getting food. Or
I think we got food because it was right after.
Right after our panel. But yeah, they basically just go over what you need to know to,
Yeah, it was great when they
do well,
when they
but-
heard that we might be coming. We got contacted by one of the organizers who was like, "Hey, are you guys going to be at GP Portland? Do you want to do a panel? Are you going to be like filming? Are you going to like how can we help?"
Yeah,
which was really really
super
great.
awesome.
And as it happened, we weren't doing like an episode of Friday Nights or anything. We did a little cutaway for an episode of Friday Nights, and we did some like behind the scenesy sort of stuff. But we went primarily to play.
Yeah.
So we weren't going to be filming a whole thing. But it was really nice of them to offer. And yeah, we did a panel which hopefully we're getting the footage for
Yep.
from Channel Fireball.
Yep.
And then we can put it up on our YouTube channel.
Yep.
And they had Hélène Bergeau doing, who's head of organized play,
Yep.
giving a panel on organized play, which is where she announced that
they were bringing back a
GP.
well, the Vancouver.
PT.
The big one was PT. I can't remember which
Huey.
one it is. The
PT
one
Huey was going to be modern
It's
again.
the first one.
Yeah. And Christine Sprankle did a panel on cosplay.
Yep.
And
Mike and Tifa did a panel
For
on
the Lady Planeswalkers.
Yep. I believe Tim Murdoch, who
Oh, yeah.
who
He
heads
did
up
the-
MTG Diversity.
Trevor Murdoch.
Trevor Murdoch. Yeah, sorry, Tim. Trevor Murdoch runs MTG Diversity. I'm trying to remember. There were other panels. I don't remember exactly what they were.
But I think that was really cool. I think it's a really, really neat idea. Now, granted, this was a new thing. This was like the first GP I've been to that has sort of panels like that.
Yeah.
And the attendance, I think, was not as high as I would expect if this becomes a more regular thing, because people are there to play Magic.
Yes.
Right? I'm not bothered by it, but it's, it's like, someone was like, "Hey, how many people came to your panel?" And I said, I was actually really impressed considering people are here to play Magic.
Primarily
I mean, it
to
was
play
also
Magic.
the panel was also on Friday. Judging from, again, just going by our past GP experiences, a lot of people are at work. So
Yeah.
like,
Turns out jobs.
yeah,
So that was really cool. They had this thing called the prize wall.
Yeah.
This is really neat. So typically at a GP, if you're doing a side event, say you do the equivalent of an 8-4 draft, you enter an 8-person draft, a single elimination. If you win, you get 8 packs. If you come in second, you get 4. In this instance, you could, instead of taking 8 packs, you could take 80 prize tickets, wherein 10 tickets is worth 1 pack, and you could then use those packs and save up for higher ticket items, sort of like a fair,
Yes.
on this prize wall that they'd set up. Now, worst case scenario, you just keep all your tickets, you don't end up saving up for anything, and then on Sunday you go, all right, just give me those 8 packs.
Yeah.
And then that's fine. But there's no reason not to just hang on to them and trade them in for whatever. And I was able to save up for the 6 Funko Planeswalker
Yep.
figures, because the last thing I need is more packs of M15 core set
Yeah.
after all the testing we did to
So-
prepare for this thing.
yeah. I mean, it's especially good for constructed events because like constructed events typically the prizes are much higher, so you'll win like 2 boxes if you win one. But at the same time, that's a lot of Magic cards
Yep.
to open out of packs. I would prefer, being me,
Yeah.
to get a couple dual lands maybe
Yeah.
over a couple boxes.
Yeah, so-
You
So
know
they
what I mean?
had the biggest thing someone got is there was a judge that traded with people over the course of the weekend to get 2,600
Yeah.
tickets, the equivalent of 260 packs, to get the Nerf Axe and Comic-Con exclusive Planeswalkers from this year's Comic-Con.
Wasn't it him and his like daughter or something like that?
No, that was a different thing.
Oh, didn't she do the same thing though? Trade.
No, she was saving up, and then they just gave her one. The axe.
Yeah. I thought
which
she
was adorable.
Yeah, that
but
was
no.
true, yeah.
This was there was a judge that
Okay.
also traded up for it. Now they had a Black Lotus.
Yes.
On the prize wall for 12,500 tickets. For show, I guess. There's literally no way that you could ever
so
save up for that.
You can't, but I guess if like a whole bunch of people go in,
But then you've got a Black Lotus that you cut up into
there
little
were
bits.
definitely
No, I mean,
people-
you just sell, right?
The,
I mean-
the trading thing was not unique to that one guy. I mean,
Yeah.
there were definitely people sort of grinding it to try and
This is, gamers going to
trade up.
game.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
if you've got like a person who has 1 ticket and they're like, well, I could get a pack, or
Or
I could trade
10.
it. Sorry.
10
tickets.
because
yeah.
there's the minimum. Technically,
I mean, they were in denominations of 10. But if you got a person with 10 tickets and they're like, I could take a pack or I could trade it with this guy for something small from his binder, he's very happy about that
Yeah.
because he can then turn that ticket into something bigger, like immediately, without needing to like negotiate some sort of weird trade.
Yeah.
And you're happy because you got something that's probably better than what you pull out of a pack.
Yeah, I think it was a really, really cool idea because I wanted those things anyway, and I'm a lot happier with them than I am with just
Another,
2 or
20 packs of Magic.
It was
15, yeah.
20 packs of M15.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would rather have the vinyl figures.
Yep.
So they're looking to bring the prize, at least Cascade Games is looking to bring the prize wall to any GPs they organize. Their next one's in Vegas, I think. Anyway.
Yeah. What was it? Keep going.
Okay. What was their other GP firsts? Oh, their Infinite Constructed bracelet.
That was interesting.
This is something we did not take advantage of because we are not into Constructed as much. I mean, Jared was there to play some Legacy for sure.
Yeah.
But it was $100, and it was free entry into any
constructed event.
Any constructed.
Not any constructed event, any scheduled constructed
Yeah.
event.
Yes.
So like they were doing like eight person queues that you could just fire when you got 8 people. You couldn't get into those, but any scheduled event. Now, when I was looking at it originally, I was like, I don't see the value proposition because they were $25 to get into a constructed event, which is relatively high, but the prices were really good. And I was like, well, if I play one a day, which is probably the max I'm going to be able to do, I don't know if this is good value. What I wasn't thinking about at all was all the people who I met at the first constructed event that I was in who all had bracelets. And I was like, oh, what's the value proposition on the bracelets? They're like, if you are out of prizes, just drop and enter another event. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
had not considered dropping.
Of course. So before we get to the main event, let's talk about some other things. I did a chaos draft, aka a grab bag draft on the Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah. And which is it's for 8 people to draft, you need 24 packs, and so this is 24 just random packs. There's no set format. Now, typically you want to go sort of older. I was actually talking with the Cascade Games Twitter account afterwards because I was like, the packs could have gone older. There was nothing earlier than Scars block in our specific pod, and they were like, oh, there was like Weatherlight and Visions and stuff in the box. I was like, well, we didn't get them, which is fine because the judges just like grabbed random handfuls and handed them out. But the 3 that I had to open, and I got to choose which order, was Avacyn Restored, Journey to Nyx, and M15.
Yeah.
Which is like, all right, okay, sure. So I decided to open AVR first, and I first picked an Angel of Jubilation. It was really good. It's a 1 white for a 3/3 flyer, and all your other non-white creatures get +1. No, non-black creatures. Pardon me. All your other non-black creatures get +1/+1. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And I ended up going like hard Boros, and it was pretty great. The let me tell you how disorienting it is to look at like ones that you're used to recently when you're looking at like Journey into Nyx and then M15 and stuff, and then you get a pack of Mirrodin Besieged.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, this Ardent Recruit could be a 3/3 if I have Metalcraft.
Yeah.
That's never happening. So it was interesting sort of figuring that out. But I can't remember his name now. The one from Dragon's Maze, he's a 5/3 Minotaur for 5 mana for 3 white red. And whenever an instance or sorcery you control deals damage, period, just deals damage, you get 2 1/1 white red soldiers with haste.
Right. Yeah. I remember.
And so I got that guy, and it was clear that Boros was open because I got past a War Leader's Helix, and I was like, okay, let's do this. So I had like War Leader's Helix, I had Burning Oil from Innistrad block, I had Punish the Enemy, Magma Spray. Like I was basically, and then after opening Angel of Jubilation in my first pack, I opened the new Avacyn in M15 pack, and I just had this disgusting Boros deck that I feel had a good shot of getting to the finals. But I want to tell you my bad beat story as by way of education for you. So I was popping in to Kenji's live stream in between rounds to tell the chat sort of how I was doing, because I was like, I'm going to go do this chaos draft, and they were like, tell us what you draft. So I was like, all right. So I was going back between rounds and telling them how the rounds were going. And for round 3, they didn't use the PA to announce the draft. The judge in the area just yelled to the people in the area, "Hey, your pairings are up." And so I was sort of looking at my watch and going, "Huh, they haven't announced it yet. That's weird. I should go back over there." And I went over there, and they'd just started the round like a minute ago. And so the judge was like, "Oh, okay, you're here. Good. You guys start your match, but you have a game loss." And I'm like, "Okay, that's cool because I've heard that rule before, and so no worries." So we sit down, and I win the first game, and then my opponent wins the second game, and that's it. So because I'm starting with a game loss, so he's won. So he's won 2-1. So I signed the slip. He goes and turns the slip in. So I'm now 2-1 in the event. No big deal. And I'm just like, "Hey, can I talk to the head judge for the event?" Just because I want to give feedback on, please could you use the PA? Because I was late because I didn't hear it because I was on the other side of the room. I was back late and I got a game loss because of it. And the judge went, "Oh, that shouldn't happen because this event was at casual rules enforcement."
Yeah.
Which means that you have a 10-minute grace window from when the round starts. If you're there within 10 minutes, you just play as if nothing happened. And if you're there outside of the 10 minutes, then you forfeit the whole match. And so I went, "Oh, well, now I have a different complaint." And obviously, there was nothing to be done at that point with the record, nor would I have wanted to, because that would have been a real shit move for my opponent to be like, "Hey, guess what? Turns
Game
out you
3.
actually, let's go back for that
Yeah.
game 3 now." Because I think I could have won it with his deck. But just want you to know to, maybe just ask at the beginning of the thing, "Hey, what rules enforcement level is this?" Because there was 3 different enforcement levels over the different events of this thing.
Probably 4.
Well, the main event was competitive.
Yeah.
And then there's regular.
Yeah.
And then there's casual.
Day 2 of the main event would have been professional.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, because they stamped all the things,
Yeah,
too.
day 2 of because I day 2 to GP a while ago, and that was one of the first things that they told us was, "This is professional REL," and I was like, "Okay." I don't know exactly what that means.
Yeah.
But,
So casual REL is like, it's like, "Oh, I missed the thing. Can I do
It's
whatever?"
That's F&M.
Yeah, it's F&M. Although every F&M is different. I know some people's F&Ms are like, "I did this thing," and some people called me a jerk, and I didn't.
Sure,
I called a
but-
judge, and Anyway, the point is, now you know, and I will never forget the rules for showing up late to a round at casual rules enforcement. Yeah. So that said, I split the last round and ended up my opponent and I went 3-1-1 because the prize breakdown for those events was like really top heavy.
Yeah.
If you went 5-0, you got like 75
yeah.
packs.
2 boxes.
Yeah. If you went 4-0-1, it was like 45. And if you went 4-1, it was 10.
Yeah.
And so we decided to split, like we were both 3-1, and we decided to split because it was the difference between one of us getting 18.
18.
Between one of us getting 18 packs and the other one getting 2.
Yes.
So we split, so we each got 10.
Yeah.
Which was like, all right, sure, that's much better EV than seeing how this goes.
Yeah.
So that was fun. And then we did a lot of the 8-man sealed
Yeah, we
win a
jammed,
box
Yeah, we
ones.
jammed a couple 8-man sealed win a box.
And drafts as well.
And that was
Yep.
the 8-man seal is something I'd not seen before. It's 8 people, you get the 6 packs, you get a sealed deck. It's good value because it's $30. It's just like a normal sealed pool.
Yep.
But then if you win, there's no prizes except for winning, which is the box. And
Yeah.
then second place, actually, you get free entry into another event.
Yes.
And so if you split the finals of that, then you get half a box and you can play for the for the
So
free
we
entry.
went into all of those. I think we did 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But we went into all of those in sort of an agreement that we'd split whatever. Like if we all were in the same one and say Graham, which happened, made it to the finals, whatever he won, we would split between the 3 of us.
Yeah, so I split with my opponent, so I got 180 tickets.
Yeah.
We were colluding. is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
and then we no, that's not collusion. And then we each got 60 tickets out of that.
Yeah.
Which was nice. I guess main event. Should we talk about the main event
about
now?
the main
So we talked previously. Jerry, you weren't here, but James and I talked previously about the prep.
Yes.
That we did. Opening up sealed pools and everything, but we didn't talk much about the actual how that all goes down when you're there. I don't know. You want to take us through some of that?
Sure. So when you arrive at the GP on time,
Yep.
because
It starts at 8
Early as
a.m.
balls.
yeah. So the first thing you do is you go to the hotel restaurant, and they take forever to get you your food, and eventually
That was bad.
And then eventually the food comes and it's not very good.
minus the toast.
Yeah, I never got my fucking toast.
No, I didn't get my
Our toast
either.
never showed up.
God damn. And
That is-
then so really quickly, has nothing to do with magic. So on Sunday morning, I wake up early and early, like I don't know why the hell I woke up so early. And so I was like, I'm not going to wake you guys up. Who's up? Marshall. Marshall, you want to get breakfast? He's like, yep. Okay, I'll meet you at your hotel. So I go to Marshall's hotel, which is A, a little farther, B, a lot nicer, and C, the breakfast was cheaper and better. And I was like, what the crap? Come on, man. Like, I got a much better... Essentially, I ordered the same thing. Because
We were at the budget hotel.
Yeah, I got the ham and cheese omelet at both hotels. At Marshall's, it was like 1,000 times better and probably about 10% cheaper. And I was like, what is going on?
I don't know.
All right, so that's
Okay,
my
so
gripe about
food
breakfast.
rants. I went to the burger place for
Burgerville?
breakfast later. Was it?
Yeah,
I
Burgerville?
could never remember whether it was like Burger City
no,
or
Burgerville,
or whatever.
Burgerville.
Yeah,
Back down to Burgerville.
and that was worse breakfast than we got at the hotel.
Yeah.
but it was about a quarter of the price, so I was okay with that.
Nice.
And just so we don't get off food entirely, we had a lot of really good food.
I was just about to
It's
say
Portland.
the same thing. The
Yeah,
last
like-
thing I want is people from Portland being
Being
like,
like,
you came to Portland and you didn't eat good food?
Yeah, we hit
ate
up,
a lot of good food.
Yeah, we headed downtown twice. We hit up a
We went
couple.
to food trucks.
We did 3 food trucks. We did. We went to the place the first night with the wings and the sandwiches.
Yeah.
Oh, Fire on the Mountain?
Yeah, man.
They make their own
Yeah.
beer?
Yeah, that place was awesome.
Because you
That
have
was
to
phenomenal.
in
it
Portland.
was super good.
Yeah. So
Apparently, it's part
worry-
of the business license.
Yeah. So worry not. We ate plenty of good food in Portland, but
there was a
there are
couple-
time constraints when we were not afforded the luxury
Exactly.
of going to other places. But we didn't go to the Denny's that was literally beside the hotel, and I consider that a victory.
Yes.
So yeah, you show up at the GP on time
At 8 a.m.
At 8 a.m.
Because
and-
it's sealed and you have to build the deck first.
yes, and hopefully it starts soon after that. It took a little while to get started this time.
That's why they started it early.
Well, there was some confusion about seating for the team thing, because the way that they were seating us was like L-shaped at the
Yes.
tables. So like at each table, which held 6 people, you would have 2 members of one team on one end.
I think
and
that's
2
because
members
we
of
did it
another team
wrong.
At the other end, and then no, this is the way you were supposed to do it.
Oh.
And then 2 members across from each other of different teams, sort of Tetris blocked
Right.
together in
Right.
in L's. So they sit you down at the table like that, and you fill out the release form and whatnot, and wait for a while, and eventually things get rolling, and they bring you a pool of cards.
12 packs.
Yes.
Yep.
And you open those packs, and you get a registration form, and you write down, you sort those cards, you alphabetize them, you sort them by color, and you write down everything that is in all those packs. And you look at them and you go, oh, these cards are awesome. I would love to build a deck out of these cards.
And then you pass them.
Then you pass those cards
And you get a...
with the registration form.
Yep.
And then you
get past a...
get past a pool, and then you verify
Yep.
that pool. This is also that you can't cheat.
Yes.
You verify the pool you're being passed to make sure that it's correct, and you then, I mean, when the first one I did, I think was the Avison Restored Sealed.
Yeah.
Where it was like, you pass it like 3 to your left, and then you check it, and then you pass it like across and 2 to the right, and that's the pool you get. And I did a different sealed event where it was like you pass it across and over, and then you register it, or you double check it, and then you pass it back and across. So you actually end up with the pool you opened, but someone else has checked it. In this case, it was just we registered a pool, passed it to the team across from us, double checked it, and that was the pool we got.
Yeah.
Let's briefly talk about the pool we passed.
The pool we opened was a pool that had some cards in it. It had some cards that we very much liked.
Briefly, Jace, Chandra, Obnixilis, Indulgent Tormentor, 3 Raise the Alarm, 2 Triplicate Spirits,
Avison was in there.
the
I
new
think?
Avison, 3 Lightning Strikes.
3 lightning
Lightning
strikes. There were 2 of the Fireball.
Heat Ray.
Heat Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically,
and just for the rub-ins, there was a foil perilous vault as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right.
so there was a
Green
there
was weak, though,
There
so
was a
ha.
there was a mono red deck, a mono black deck, and a mono white deck.
Just there.
Yeah.
There, and we did before before you're like, well, there was the bombs, but was there the support? There was also the support. We checked.
That
no,
pool
it was a
was
very good pool.
absolutely nuts.
Don't actually know how it did.
No,
but
either.
didn't
The
ever-
pool we got past.
It had such
fine.
rares as three
Three
dual
dual
lands,
lands.
for example. A Sliver Hive
Yep.
was also in there. Sliver Hive Lord also to go along.
So there's
with the
5
Sliver Hive.
rares that are not super useful. Now, before you're like, oh, but you have the Hive Lord and the Hive and three dual
dual
lands. If any pool is going to be able to run the Slivers deck, we only had 3 other Slivers.
And
we
two
had
of them-
we had
No,
one diffusion Sliver.
Yeah.
Was it?
and-
I thought it was 2
Oh, sorry,
diffusions.
2 diffusion Slivers and a leeching
and
Sliver.
One of the black one,
Yeah,
yeah.
the Legion. Yeah.
None of the white one, none of the green one.
Yeah.
So,
So it's like, nope.
Yeah, when I
We're
saw
not
the
doing
when I
that.
saw the Lord and the Hive and the lands, I was tempted, but then no.
Yeah. So
That said, I like the decks we ended up with.
All right,
I thought we had some pretty okay
Graham, what did
decks.
you what deck did you pilot?
All right, I was mostly mono red with a bit of green aggro. I had the green in there for like a Gather Courage, a Living Totem, honestly a Rune Claw Bear, and primarily the activated ability and the static ability on the Kurd Chieftain.
Yeah.
Very good card. Definitely won me some games. Notables in the deck. I think I had a Lightning Strike. I had 2 Stoke the Flame. I should actually just double check the actual picture I took of the deck so that I'm not just like talking out my butt here. But the deck did me well. It's weird. I ended up facing aggro mirror decks quite a lot, and I don't know if that's to do with how the seeding works out at these things.
Wow, why didn't we sit in our ABC positions?
I was thinking about that when we sat
Damn it.
down, actually. But
Damn it. Oh well.
Here we go. Let me see what we got here. I had a Blast Fire Bolt, Juggernaut, 2 Scrapyard Mongrels, which I assisted with the Juggernaut and
You had a Bronze Saber.
the Gargoyle Sentinel, Bronze Sable, and a Phyrexian Revoker.
Yeah.
Altac Bloodseeker, who not only put in a lot of work, but I went and got signed by Cynthia Shepard, so that was nice to see her again. Crowd's Favor, Forge Devil, Inferno Fist, the Red Paragon. It's a Paragon of Fierce Defiance. So, it's a deck that knows what it wants to do, and it was very, very good at doing that, excepting the times when it was not. We ended up playing 6 rounds, and I think I was 4-2 across rounds by the end of the day. And I'm actually going to excuse myself from the podcast for a moment, but I think James, maybe you should talk about yours next. I actually think that Jared's deck is the most interesting of the 3 of ours.
All right. So my deck was just straight up blue-white fly tokens.
This was the deck
Or
that when
not
we
tokens,
like,
but tempo.
when we looked at the pool, we were like, "This deck is there."
Yeah, this deck was there. So what was that? So 1-drops were, I believe, we had 2 Void Snares. We had 3 or 4 Welkin turns. There were a lot of Welkin turns.
There were like 3 peels from reality, I think.
In the pool, I only ran one peel from reality. I had 2 illusionary angels. I had 2 Nimbus. I had an Ajani, which was a house. Like that card, I don't think the only time I lost a game when I cast Ajani was when I completely and utterly punted and just made a really bad attack. And that was like round 4 or something. It was just a really solid, straightforward deck. It didn't do anything fancy. It just played its flyers and it just hit you, and you generally just died. Over the 6 rounds, I was 4-1-1. Like it was really good. 2 illusionary, or I keep saying illusionary. It's illusory angels. That card is so good. Like it's so good, and it's especially good when you have like something like 2 Vapor Snags. Like if on your turn 4, like consistently, I was able to go Vapor Snare one of your dudes, like a 3 or a 4-drop depending, and then cast a 4/4 flyer for 3. Like it was ridiculous. So it was a really good deck. I really liked it. What was the other? There was one other thing. I had Spirit Bonds. That was the other really good sort of blowout card that was in that deck.
That card is very good.
Yeah, so that card mixed with the very low curve that was my deck, because it was a wall of 2-drops and then a bunch of 1, 3s, 4s, and a couple 5s. It was very good. So it worked out really well. Being able to, plus or minus a Johnny to do whatever he needs to do to whatever creature was on the board, whether it be one or all of them, was pretty insane. I think the only thing I probably should have been running, I feel like we had a Selfless Cathar, and I think I probably should have been running that card. I don't regret it, though. The deck performed incredibly well, so I cannot complain. So Jeremy was running the
graveyard deck.
The graveyard deck. It wasn't like 100% where the graveyard deck needs to be, though, right?
It was doing pretty well, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it had... okay, so what it had was Satyr Wayfinders. It had 2 Satyrs.
Yep.
I had Necromancer's Assistants. I don't think I was playing any of them, though.
I thought you were playing one.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I believe I was not... I believe we had one, and I
Okay.
chose not to play it.
Okay.
And it had Undergrowth Scavengers. It had 2 of those.
2 of those, yep.
As sort of as one of the payoffs. And then the other thing that it had was Endless Obedience.
Yes.
Now, Endless Obedience is the reanimate spell with Convoke. So theoretically, you can use those Satyr Wayfinders to get land, and then you can tap the Satyr Wayfinders to help cast your Convoke spell to cast the thing that you've milled into the yard. And then it had a couple of bomb rares that I was hoping to basically mill into the yard with the Satyr and Obedience back into play. I wouldn't be playing that card main deck if I didn't have some bombs to pull out with it, but I had a Hornet Queen and an Ob Nixilis.
Yep.
So that was the reanimation dream, and then the rest of it was just sort of a defensive, value-y green-black creature deck. The one thing that I was actually missing, I think as far as building the graveyard deck in sealed, that's about as good as it was going to get.
That's fair.
I had a couple of the return, like the return 2 guys from your graveyard to your hand card, which are often played in the graveyard deck, and I kind of felt like between the reanimate the bomb and just play the bomb plan, and the just Siege Worm and other sort of value-y things like that was sort of a better way to go about it. And I would bring those in against really slow decks. And I played almost entirely against very aggressive decks all day. So those really never came in. The reanimate Hornet Queen on turn 4 plan happened.
Yep.
So that was exciting.
You should have just retired champion right there.
I probably should have because really that was the high point.
Such a cool play, and that was off of the 2 Satyr Wayfinders, right?
Yeah, it was just like Satyr Wayfinder. I think it was Satyr Wayfinder, Elf, something, land, reanimate, boom. You can't win this game. You are locked out.
It's hard enough to win off of a turn 7 Hornet Queen, let alone turn 4.
Yeah, turn 4 Hornet Queen is pretty oppressive. And I also had some bouncy stuff so that I could, theoretically bounce the Hornet Queen back to my hand and then play it again and do things like that. I mean, cast Hornet Queen ideally for way cheaper and way earlier than I should have been able to was a decent plan, and the Undergrowth Scavengers got real big.
You had like 9/9s?
No, I had an 11/11 at one point. I mean,
Sheesh.
they were gross. I really liked that deck. The one thing that it was missing was removal. I had 1 removal spell, and that was the Convoke 4 damage.
Covenant of Blood.
Covenant of Blood.
You had a Flesh to Dust, didn't you?
No, I didn't have a Flesh
Did you
to
have an
Dust at all.
Ulcerate?
I did not have an Ulcerate. I'm pretty sure that I did.
I must be thinking one of the drafts.
I'm pretty sure I had only 1 removal spell. I could be wrong about that, but
You were certainly wanting for removal.
I'm almost entirely sure that if my opponent played some big bomb, I didn't have many ways of dealing with it. I am pretty sure there was no Flesh to Dust. I had a Nightfire Giant who was also playing the role of removal in some games, because I definitely had the ability to fetch up the red source to turn him on and make him a thing.
Nightfire Giant, very real card.
Yes,
Yep.
very, very real card. But I think my record was ultimately 2-4. It might have been 3-3.
I think you went 3-3.
Was it 3-3?
Yeah.
I never.
Okay. So
round one, I think I lost.
You lost. Okay, so let's go through the rounds really quick, and we'll stop on the notables, which I believe are 3 and 6.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first round, we went up against a group of really nice guys. Super nervous, I noticed, which I thought was adorable. Nervous because I think this was their first GP, not because they knew who we are at all.
We did play a couple teams who knew us.
That's true. So the first round, I didn't play the game of Magic, so I lost really quickly.
Yeah.
I mulliganed to 5 both games, never drew any land beyond 3, bunch of 4 drops in my hand, so I couldn't do anything, which was really weird and never happened again, which I was grateful for because it was really just not what my deck was trying to do.
I was able to get there in my match off of repeated Kurd Chieftain shenanigans.
Yeah, so Graham got there, and I know Jer lost that round.
Yeah, my opponent in that round had Soul of Zendikar, which he played in every one of the 3 games that we played.
But I mean that at least means that you beat a Soul of Zendikar once.
Well, okay, so there was the great moment where he attacked in with Soul of Zendikar, and I blocked with literally my entire team.
Yes, I remember
and
this,
traded off. And he was like, okay, that seems fine. And he's got a bunch of like bears and stuff. And then I immediately cast Undergrowth Scavenger, which becomes like a 9/9.
Yeah,
that was, and then the following turn, a second Undergrowth Scavenger.
Whoa. That seems good.
Yeah, that was pretty good. So yeah, but lost that round.
Yeah. So then second round, we actually just swapped.
Yeah.
Graham lost his.
crushed.
Yeah. Graham lost that round. Me and Jared both won our rounds. I believe that's the round where I made a horrendous misplay, where I ended up attacking.
Is that where you put yourself dead on board?
Yeah. So I ended up attacking with.
That was round 4.
Yeah, I think that was round 4.
Yeah, it was round 4. Okay, so we'll get to that in a minute. I don't remember. Round 2 is the only one I don't actually remember who we played. I can't actually picture who we played. I can remember every other round. I remember every other round. I don't remember that one.
I'm sort of in the same boat.
And I don't remember. Yeah, so weird. But so we won that one, so that was great. So now we're 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
We go into round 3.
And we sit down from Team Brazil.
Team Brazil.
It's
so
Paulo Vitor Dama-da-Rosa in the middle seat, and then 2 other gentlemen whose full names escape me. I know my opponent was also named Paulo, but wasn't this previously the Brazilian team for the World Magic Cup?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, these are 3 of the best Brazilian players in the world.
So we sit down and they start talking to each other in Portuguese, and we're like, jokingly, we're like, well, that's not fair. We don't know. We can't tell what you guys are saying.
Paid more attention in French class.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like we're we made sort of like we're bad Canadians. We should know how to speak French, and then we could talk and you wouldn't know. And then PV just sort of looks over at us and he's like, we also know how to speak French.
Yeah.
And we're like,
well,
damn it,
crap.
You're showing off. We lost the round.
But I won my match, so I'll take
victory.
it.
Yeah, James
moral
beat
victory.
PV. Those were tight games.
They were tight games.
Actually, your games are really tight as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, by the end of it, all 3 of them were just like huddled on one side of the table, and all 3 of us were huddled on the other side of the table.
All around the seat A, which was Jer and the other guy.
Yeah.
Real quick, I lost in 2 games. Each game I got blown out by a blue rare that I couldn't play around. Game 1, I was just like, make these perfectly reasonable attacks, and he goes, Polymorphist's Jest, all your guys are 1/1s, make these blocks, you lose. And then game 2, I was like, okay, make these attacks, this time with stuff in my hand and tricks and, playing around Polymorphist's Jest. And he goes, okay, Aether Spouts. And I'm like, well,
crap.
And he said afterwards, he's like, you could not have played around that. And I'm like, I know, but geez. But your games were tight. You went to 3 games.
Yeah, he was playing an aggressive red deck. I was playing a pretty good deck to shut down an aggressive red deck. I had a lot of Witches Familiars and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
My big regret of the weekend was not realizing I should board in Festergloom against the red deck.
Oh, because that came up a couple times.
The entire weekend, I was boarding it in against the Souls deck.
Right, like the Triplicate Spirits.
The Triplicate Spirits deck.
Yeah.
But I was totally just brain farting on like realizing that the red deck is just X1s.
Yeah, like Altag Bloodseekers and Torch Fiends and
yeah, I mean he played like 3 Torch Fiends in game 1, and I'm like not even thinking about it. So I feel like for me, because I kept on going up against the red deck, had I realized, Festergloom, yeah, that's definitely a card I should be playing, that could have gone a little differently.
Right.
But regardless, he got off to. I think the third game was a harsh mull for me, and I kept a bad one or something. Oh, no, was that the one where? No, that was game 2 where I had a cold, and I was coming down with I was really stuffed up that day because I'd been getting a cold starting on Thursday, and it had been sort of progressing throughout the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely it was during that match where I showed Graham my hand, and I was like,
Oh,
"Do
yeah.
I mull this?" And he was like, "You know your deck best." And I heard, "But I think you mull that."
And I said, but I think you keep that. And he mulled to 5 on my advice.
And got the same hand with one field. They were both 2 spell, 5 land, or it was two spells and 4 lands, I think. And
But
then
I feel
mulled
like there
into
was
2 spells and 3 lands.
Yeah, but there was an Evolving Wilds in there and a meteorite instead of lands or something. And I don't know. It seemed like a keep, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway.
But it was on the bubble enough that when Jer heard me, when Jeremiah heard me, it didn't seem so out to lunch that he didn't listen. So
The hand that I have the most trouble with is the 2 spells X lands hand.
Yeah.
And I'm always so tempted to keep it. And I really know I shouldn't. But anyway, that's how that goes.
All right, so that was round 3.
So then we ended up after that we were
1 and 2.
1 and 2.
So we went. So
You got 3 lives basically. If you die 3 times,
Yeah,
then you're out.
You don't day 2.
Yeah.
So on to round 4.
That we were playing against some people who knew who we were, right? Or
Yes.
at least 2 of them did.
2 of them, I believe, knew who we were.
Yeah.
So round 4, at least for me, other than the horrendous misplay, very quickly, I swung out with everything, thinking that he would have to make some pretty terrible blocks. I had a couple tricks in my hand, but what I didn't account for was that stupid warden that gets +2/+2 when something is exiled, and something was exiled. So I just kind of counted the math wrong and thought he had 9 on the swing back when he actually had 11, and I was at 11.
And he was just like, I take it, and then I
Yeah,
kill you?
yeah. Basically, he just made the blocks that he could, and then swung back with 11 next turn, and I was like, well, okay, crap, that was bad.
But you won that match, right?
I ended up, I kind of kicked myself and regrouped, and I was like, all right, no way I'm not winning this match now because that was stupid. So I ended up winning that one. So I felt pretty good.
I don't remember what happened to me in that round. So
I was playing against a blue base deck, and what I remember is that I also made a terrible misplay in that match, but you guys had already lost your game, or sorry, had already won your games.
Yes.
And so my opponent you guys already won, and I was like, my opponent was sort of figuring out whether or not he wanted to keep playing.
Yeah.
And I just had a lethal attack on board, so I made the lethal attack, and he completely blew me out, and then more or less scooped. So, so yeah, that.
So we won that. So we were 2 and 2.
2 and 2.
So we're feeling pretty good. So we go into round 5. Now round 5, we absolutely went up against a couple guys who knew exactly who we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also played in a puddle of pop, so that was fun.
Yeah. Sticky on the ground.
Yeah,
there.
it got very sticky. So, again, at least for me, nothing major in that round. It was you guys ended up winning both your matches.
That was definitely a Hornet Queen dominated round for me.
Yeah.
I cast it ahead of time in the first game and on time in the second game, but not as far ahead of time as I did in the previous match. Where
That was the one where the All-Tac Bloodseeker really put in work.
Yeah.
It was just like you can't really effectively block this guy or take 6. It was really gross.
Yeah. So you guys won your match. I kept playing because the guy wanted to, so we kept playing. And at the end, he just conceded to me because we were running out of time and they were kind of done at this point anyways. I think they were actually dead in that round, but they wanted to keep. They decided to just keep going.
Yeah.
And I think they were pretty happy because they seemed pretty stoked that they got to play us, which was cool.
Yeah.
So now we are 3 and 2. We head into the round number 6. It's 5:00 in the afternoon at this point. It's been a long day.
Mm-hmm.
And we sit down next to a couple guys from Northern California or something like that.
No, they were from Cascadia, or close to.
Oh, they were actually okay. So
Grinders.
Yeah.
Big grinders, these guys.
Sure. And
according to our judge, anyway.
Yeah. I'm almost positive I have seen them at GPs before.
I am almost sure that the guy that I played against, and I'm not entirely sure of this, but I have this sneaking suspicion, was the guy that I played against in the last round of day 1 of the GP Vancouver for Avison Restored.
Yep. It's possible.
Very possible.
I'm pretty sure I remember seeing those guys at GP San Jose when I played in the team event down there a couple of years ago.
I think my match was probably the least interesting because it was over the fastest. So I'll just tell you, again, it was a red-green aggro mirror, and I just got there faster. And game one was fair, but I ended up winning it. And then game 2, I was like, end of your turn, lightning bolt to your face, convoke, stoke the flames to your face. You're at 4, untap, stoke the flames to your face. You just took 11 points of burn.
Yeah.
It was pretty disgusting draw. James?
Well, we'll go to
No. Sorry, Jair's was next.
I lost mine. It was interesting because my opponent's deck I had pegged for not a good deck, basically immediately. And I stand by that. I think that his deck was bad. And it was mono red with a lot of 2-1s. So Festergloom would have been super awesome to bring in out of the sideboard. But I felt that my matchup against it was great because I had just a million X3s, just so many ways to stop him from ever hitting me. But I believe in all 3 games I kept a sketchy hand. But I am pretty certain that game 2, at least game 2 and 3, I kept the aforementioned 2 spell hands.
Mm-hmm.
And I got there in game 2 by the skin of my teeth, but game 3 I did not. I basically didn't cast anything. I guess like in the games that we played, my deck basically didn't do anything because I didn't actually play any spells.
Yeah.
And the red deck just ran over me. So yeah, that was me.
Okay, so my game. Game number 1 was a long, grindy, drawn-out, stupid game. And at the end of it, he ended up winning, but it took probably about 40 minutes. It was a very long game. It was probably between 30 and 40 minutes. So, okay, we head into game 2. Game 2 kind of turns into the same kind of slugfest, but I get to a point where both he and I are pretty confident that I have that game. So with 3 minutes left in the round, now that's actually not true. With 1 minute left in the round, a judge taps me on the shoulder and reminds me that I have missed a lifelink trigger
from my
Pegasus.
Sungrace Pegasus,
for which I get a game warning. And
so does your opponent.
Yeah, and so does my opponent
failure to maintain game state.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, that's fine, not a problem. It really quickly, if you're at a GP and you get one of those warnings, just do your best to shake it off really quick.
Don't freak out about it.
Yeah, it's
honestly, I don't want to downplay it, but it's not a big deal.
No, it is really not a big deal.
You have to be a bastard and get a ton of warnings or keep making the same mistakes before they can catch up to you. But it is something that they need to keep track of in case you are someone who, you miss a ton of things. And then they can be like, they can put a pattern together and be like, you keep
a ton of
missing, heavy air quotes, this trigger.
Yeah.
And so that's why he's like, all right, so James, you forgot to gain this life. So, that's
a warning.
That's a warning. And you, the opponent, you forgot to remind him to gain this life because it's not a thing that James can optionally do. So this is on you as well. So, so if that happens to you, don't freak out about it.
Just relax.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. It happened to me. It's happened to me before. So I was just like, okay, whatever. That's cool. The nice thing about it, at least that time around, was the judge ended up giving us 2 extra minutes. So, okay. So we have 3 minutes left in the round. And he's like, I can't win. Scoop up that game.
Yeah.
Not the match, but the game. So he's like, I have a better feeling that I can win this. Like, he feels like he can win this in 3 minutes and a couple extra turns.
Because both teams are 3-2.
Yep.
And what happens is when the round ends, when the time runs out in the round, then you go to turns, which is whoever is playing when the timer hits 0 that's turn 0, and then it goes turn 1 to your opponent. Like if you're playing, that is turn 0, and then your opponent has turn 1, then you have turn 2, they have 3, you have 4, they have 5, and that's all you get. And if you haven't resolved it by then it's a draw.
It's a draw. And if you are 3-2-1 at a GP, that's basically 3-3. Yeah. You're basically dead. At this tournament, it was absolutely dead. At other tournaments, not necessarily. So make sure.
Because this was a team thing, I'd won my match. Jared lost his match. So, and James and this other guy were in game 3.
Yeah.
So the whole match rested on this game 3 with 3 minutes on the clock.
Yes. So we start playing quickly. I keep a hand that I probably shouldn't have kept.
Your hand was a sketchy hand.
Yeah.
It wasn't as sketchy as the hands I was keeping in my game.
Yeah. I
but
mean,
it was sketchy.
It was sketchy. It was a one-lander. I got lucky and I drew.
It was a 2-lander, but you were cut off blue.
That's right. But I drew the blue on my second turn, I think. So
no, you were cut off blue for several turns.
no, because I cast the welcome turn really quick.
Yeah, but
in that
you
game.
didn't cast it on time.
It wasn't turn 2, but it was
at
turn
least
3.
Turn 3.
It was
or-
turn 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got yeah. So I picked up the blue, and that was a mulligan to 6. So I would have had to mulligan to 5, and I did not feel super confident going down to 5 with 3 minutes on the clock. So I was just like, you know what? Let's keep it. I'm gonna go and play really quick. So we start playing. It's a blur. I honestly do not remember anything about this game. The only things I remember are
He got Jace on turn 4.
He got Jace.
So this is why I'm pretty sure that you were cut off blue for like at least 2 turns, if not longer, because the way that I remember it is you were unable to do anything, and your opponent didn't do anything either.
Yeah.
Until turn 4 when he played a Jace. Like literally, the board was empty when that Jace landed on it, and I'm pretty sure the next turn you played the Welkin turn.
right.
So and then he obsessively ticked up his Jace.
Yes.
At the advice of his teammates.
Yes.
As opposed to disrupting your board and stopping you from building a board.
Correct.
Allowing you to very easily, like, to actually bounce back from what was a very, very bad start for you. So, like, things were looking bad with what you kept and with the way that your first few turns played out.
Yeah.
I think that the way that your opponent played it allowed you to get back in the game more than you otherwise could have.
Absolutely.
Regardless, when you hit the end of turns,
Yes.
he had an accursed spirit,
Yes.
which was eating away at your life. You had bounce in your hand that could hold that off for a while, and the air he had played, not calcified. What's the word I'm looking for? The blue lockdown encrusted. He'd encrusted at least one of your flyers, and he had played
I think he had a Nimbus, did he
a
not?
Nimbus, which you had not dealt with.
Correct.
So things were not looking great.
No.
But they weren't looking like the worst either. They were definitely not looking good for you.
No.
So then it hit turns, and then we found ourselves in an uncomfortable situation. Let's put it that way, because the end result is either both teams agree to a draw, in which case both teams are out.
Yep.
Or one team concedes to the other team.
Correct.
And then the team that concedes is out, and the other team ends up 4-2 and can keep playing. And it was pretty clear that they were not going to concede.
Yeah.
No, they felt confident that they had the win. So they felt very confident that they had the win basically the next turn. Maybe not necessarily the next turn, but they had the win in like the next 2 or 3 turns.
Yeah.
And that was not true. They did not have the win in the next 2 or 3 turns. I had enough in my hand to disrupt the board to possibly crawl back.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I don't think I was winning that game, but I certainly wasn't losing it immediately like they were very insistent on.
Yeah. I don't mind talking about this. My opponent and I were largely sort of peripheral to this thing, but Jared's opponent was like, well, he's got you, like, I can see what's in his hand. He's got you dead next turn.
Sure.
To which Jared replied, well, I can see his hand, and no, he doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't just, like, come on, guy. Like,
Yeah. Well,
James has a hand of cards too, buddy.
So
and it was this weird. They'd been really friendly, super cool guys through this whole match, and then when on the possible back foot, they got very defensive.
Yeah, my opponent was sort of on the warpath about this. And okay, so on one hand, I can understand him feeling like they are just better than us because as I was saying earlier, with regard to my games against him, I barely cast any spells in 2 of the 3 games. My deck didn't do anything. And from his point of view, maybe it looks like I just don't know what I'm doing.
And you get into that
I'm-
mindset of I can't possibly lose to these people,
Right.
question mark. Or air quotes, not question marks.
So I wonder if that played into his perspective. Regardless, he was very aggressively insisting that they had the win. We had no way of possibly beating them, and that was just that. And he had this. I don't know if you guys ever noticed it, but he had he had this thing that he did. I don't know if it was like to try and tilt me out during our games, but he kept on saying my name. It was like,
Yeah, I did notice that.
yeah. Okay, Graham, I'm going to play this now. So, Graham, now I'm going to play this land, and I'm going to attack you with these creatures. And like,
That's so weird.
it's
I mean, okay, well, in his defense, I have met people over the years who do that.
Yes.
You know, who like to use the name of the person they're speaking with. I don't really know why I don't do
made
it,
me
but
very uncomfortable.
yeah,
Anyway,
I mean, maybe he knows that.
and
so
he was sort of doing that a little bit as well to me when we were having this discussion, which was still like sort of like, stop doing that.
Yeah.
But I guess what got it for me was at some point in the discussion, I was like, look, we want to talk about this just amongst ourselves. Give us a second. And they wouldn't. They kept on going.
yeah, they just kept kind of talking at us.
yeah.
So we ended up having to actually just physically get up.
Like step away from
Yeah,
the
we
table and be
stepped
like,
away from the
excuse me,
table.
Judge, we're going to step away and discuss this.
Yeah.
And you know, basically the discussion is, it's clear they're not going to scoop to us, so do we scoop to them? Or frankly, because they're being kind of jerks, do we just say, no, we draw with you, deal with it? And, you know,
this
that's-
would not have the second option, frankly, would probably not have entered into the conversation.
no, it wouldn't have.
Had they been less aggressive.
Yeah. It was a weird situation where it's like, you know, do we just, like, they're being dinks right now. Do we just dink them back because, you know, that begets that? And then, you know, so we sort of went back and forth on it. But in the end, we were like, no, that's just dumb. Let's just, you know, whatever. Let's just concede and go get some food and play in some side events or whatever. So we ended up just conceding to them. And we told a truncated version of the story on coverage without getting into too many.
Yeah, I mean,
Too many details.
I mean, like after we said, you know, good luck next round. You like Graham, you actually
Yeah.
said to them like,
I was like, so you know,
yeah, like
we felt really weird about that.
yeah, we felt
because
kind of
how you were
pressured
doing
and
it.
stuff. And
they were,
I mean, they launched into a very, in my opinion, a very sincere apology. Like I felt like
I
they
think so.
They felt kind of bad for what they had done there and realized maybe they'd kind of gone a little too far. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like the ideal way to end the 6 rounds of Swiss that we had played that day.
Yeah,
but
I think that was sort of my biggest feel bad about it was that
Yeah.
it was kind of like a bad way to end that to
Yeah.
end the whole like experience, because for the most part it was really nice, but that was just so, it wasn't even like we ended up having to lose and that was bad. It was just like really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, so it's been 2 weeks. It's not something that I've even really thought of.
No, I haven't,
since
no.
it hasn't stuck around with me. And to be honest, at this point, it's a interesting story. Like
Yeah.
I have an interesting story to tell.
I think so.
It's better than we lost round 6 and we dropped.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, it's kind of a
That's
more
true.
interesting story to be able to give somebody this than just be like, so how'd GP go? 3-3.
So yeah, I was 3-3 over those 6 rounds then.
Yes, you were.
in terms of good results of the GP though, Nelson.
Yep.
Friend of ours, works at Yellow Jacket. You will have seen him in several episodes of Friday Nights this past year in the Heroes Path videos. He and his team, I don't remember who else was on his team. Oh, Nick and someone else whose name escapes me for the time being.
I can't remember.
They not only day 2'd, they placed...
Not only day 2'd, but got the first round bye in day 2.
Yes.
Luxax.
How? What? Okay.
They were the one team with the one bye.
Wow.
Yeah, I walked in that on the Sunday morning, and I was like, I was watching Nelson sort of wander around. I'm like, I looked at the clock, and there was like 49 minutes left in the round. I'm like, you haven't won. That's impossible. And I walked up to him, like, what happened? And he's like, round 1 bye. And I'm like, you Luxac.
What did they place though? They placed in money.
They ended up placing 31st. I want to say 31st.
So they got the team got like
over $1,000.
over $1,000. Yeah.
Something like that. Maybe it was like
Yeah.
750. I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but enough that I think they walked away with some money and possibly a pro point each.
Sweet. Well, good
but
for them.
That was really sweet.
Travel expenses covered.
Yeah, basically. What else did we do? I mean, You won't have seen it when this goes up, but we shot a little bit for the Friday nights.
Yeah, it'll be going up, assuming that this goes up
tomorrow, Saturday.
It'll be Monday's episode of Friday Nights,
which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the reason you go to these things is to play Magic, but also to hang out with a lot of cool people, and there were absolutely not a shortage of them.
I didn't know that Brian was
which
there.
Which is really cool. Yeah, Brian Wong.
I didn't know he was there.
Yeah, so and
Marshall never mentioned it.
I'm pretty sure he left. Did he day 2? He didn't day 2.
I have no idea.
think. So I think he left.
Yeah, Kenji didn't day 2 and just pieced right out.
Yeah, pieced right out.
We were
didn't even say goodbye.
I know. We were going to have him on the podcast.
People kept on asking me where he was. That was the funniest thing. They'd be like, "Hey, can I get you to sign my playmat? Also, have you seen Kenji?
No,
Where's Kenji?
No, have not seen that.
No, but it was a really fun weekend. Would recommend. As I always say, like if you haven't been to a GP and your reason is you don't feel like you're good enough or it's intimidating, and it is, like there's a lot of people there for sure. But just go. Like it's too much fun not to go. It is a weekend filled with magic.
Yeah.
Like if you like magic, you're gonna have fun at the GP.
And yeah, go expecting. This is one of the mistakes that I made with the first GP that we went to. Go expecting that you're probably going to want to drop out of the main event partway through the first day and go and play some side events.
I mean, even if you don't, like, for instance, the next local GP that we have is GP Vancouver in February, I believe. And it's modern.
It recently got changed.
Recently, it was changed from limited, kind of daggers. But I guarantee you that a very large number of us, more than just the 3 of us, will be at that Grand Prix. And I promise you that most of us will not be playing in the main event.
No.
Most of us don't play modern. But people are going to go because it's just a really fun weekend. Like, you just side events. Like, just grind side events.
But
is it being done by Cascade Games again? No, it's in Canada.
No,
It'll be
in Canada. I think it's somebody else. Is it Stronghold or I don't know.
I don't think it's Stronghold. Anyway, yeah, but just go assuming that you're going to spend a lot of it playing side events. The first GP that we went to, I was like in that position where I should drop on day 1 and just go draft or whatever. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I didn't budget for drafting or anything like that. I thought I was just going to play in the tournament. And then, no, go assuming that you're going to draft a bunch and hang out and whatnot. So.
Yep.
It was a super fun time. Can't say enough good things about the folks at Cascade Games. You know, they were, as I was talking to them on Twitter, I was like, it was a really, really great time, and they were like, sweet, please tell people, because we want to bring this level of stuff to the other GPs. We want to raise the profile of the GPs into a bigger thing,
so to speak. The profile.
What?
I don't even know.
Okay,
I'm tired.
Yeah. So hopefully you can go to a GP in your area soon. Yeah, I think that's all we need to talk about for GP Portland.
I think that was a good time.
Yeah.
Pretty thorough?
I think so.
Yep.
All right.
So thank you all for listening to Tap Tap Concede, and we will talk to you next time.